Hello, everyone. So this morning I was waking up and I was looking on my phone and I saw a message somebody wrote me and it stated along the lines, wow, you're such an artist. You're so talented. I wish I would have something like that. And while I was in the shower then in this morning, I had to contemplate a little bit about it. And I came to the conclusion, there is no such thing as an artist. Being an artist is a complete misperception. Let me explain. When we use the term being an artist, we describe someone who has a very artistic skill and who can create a vision or bring beauty into this world through this artistic expression. And then we perceive it in a way where we think, oh wow, there's people who are just born this way. There's a born artist. He was blessed with this talent when he was born. From my personal perspective, this is all nonsense. Every single human being that is born into this world is born an artist. Every child is an artist. The only thing that happens then is that starting from the very childhood on, our creativity gets step by step destroyed in us. We have to fall in line. We get taught what is right, what is wrong, what do people expect from us, how do we have to behave so people like us, or whatever is necessary to function in the so-called society which we created around us. But being an artist and being creative is actually just an expression of your natural individuality and your intelligence. Meaning, if you grow up natural, in tune with yourself, every single action you're gonna do will be a creative act. Every single thing will be artistic. There is no such thing as the artist and the not being an artist. There is really just the creativity. And when you use your individuality, that means if you're living according to your own truth, if you're living to your own individuality, whatever feels natural to you, every single thing you're gonna touch will be creative or have an artistic touch to it. It doesn't matter what it is. It is the way how you dress. It's the way how you walk. It's the way how you talk. It's the way how you cook. It's the way how you eat. It's the way how you drive. It's the way how you water your plants. It doesn't really matter. Every single thing will be a creative extension of what you're doing. The only difference, and that's where the misperception of the artist and the I'm not an artist perception comes from, is some people were able to cultivate this intelligence and this individuality throughout even their childhood, even though, and I can tell you also from my own personal perspective, everybody tries to destroy this very fragile and vulnerable thing in you, because being creative and being artistic first and foremost requires from you to be sensitive. But how many times have you heard this phrase, don't be so sensitive? Actually, your sensitivity is one of the most precious gifts that you can cultivate in you. And in most kids, it gets just destroyed from the beginning. And then we get taught that there is this born artist and you're just not. And the born artist has this special power, which is called talent. And we're going to go into talent in a moment as well. But frankly, every single artistic expression that you put out there is really just a culmination of your own spirit you bring into something, and you cultivate your own spirit when you are natural with yourself, when you speak your own truth, when you're authentic to yourself. And the other part is skill. And skill is something, it's just a technicality you can learn. And if you have the spirit to bring it to the table and the technical skill, you can create beautiful works of art. And when I say beautiful works of art, I'm not limiting that to the classic media as we know it, like painting, music, fine art, poetry. There's so many other creative expressions. Literally, the way how you broom your own floor can be an artistic expression as well. The skill part is actually probably the easiest to acquire because it just demands a certain repetition of a technical process. What I see nowadays from people who want to get into creative fields is they focus their entire attention and their entire energy only on the skill set of it. They become technical masters in what they're doing. But I look at the so-called artwork and I'm like, it doesn't say anything. It has no spirit to it. I've personally seen many people who become very, very efficient at the technical parts of an artistry, but then the spirit part is completely lacking and it looks empty. Like there's no beauty, there's no nothing, but it's technically speaking perfectly executed. But for some reason, there is something missing to it. A similar analogy would be somebody who has studied linguistics for years and years will be automatically be able to write poetry like a Shakespeare, for example. But there are two components coming together. There's the technical skill and there is the spirit and the creativity. And the creativity is something you're born with. That is nothing special to anyone. Everyone has their own creativity and everyone is born with it. So technically speaking, every single human being is born an artist. The only question is, was it cultivated in you? For example, did you have to stand up for your own truth? that you had to fall out of line when you were growing up, for example, which is a very hard lesson to be learned because suddenly you swim completely against the grain. But that is where you create depth in your being. And this depth in your being will be then the expression which comes out when you do whatever creative endeavor. And then last but not least, not to forget about the talent trap, because certain people, they think somebody else is just born with a certain talent. But let's dissect this word talent a little bit. Talent is really nothing but, let's call it a little bit of a natural inclination towards something. Let's say, for example, a piano player who has a little bit bigger hands and he has a little bit easier to reach certain notes on the piano. But staying in this example, if you take the piano player who has like larger hands and can reach certain keys better, but who never practices, who doesn't put any of his soul and spirit in what he's playing. Or you have the person who has smaller hands, but who practices and puts really his heart and his soul into his piano playing. Who do you think creates the more beautiful melodies? The one with the talent or the one who makes it an artistic expression and who acquired some skills to execute this artistic expression? If you personally feel some people out there, they're just born this way, this artistic, and you wish you would have it as well, I encourage you. This creativity and artistry is in you. There's really nothing special. It is something natural which flows through you when you're in tune with yourself. So if you don't feel creative, not inspired, then it's maybe just because it was never cultivated in you. But the good news is it's never too late. It is in you all the time. It lays dormant there. And if you tap into your creativity, you will become artistic as well. And you will also notice that being an artist is really no special ability. It is really just your natural way of being. Everything you will do will be artistic. And don't rely too much just on skill set. There's people who are amazing at skill set. And I see it especially recently a whole lot, where there's people who have the most incredible technical skills, but everything they produce is just empty and doesn't speak to no one. And as much as I can appreciate the technical skill about it, for me personally, there is nothing creative, there's nothing artistic in it. It is just a repetition of something. Because the real art comes from your spirit, and your spirit needs to be cultivated. And the only way how you can cultivate your own spirit is to stand up for yourself, to figure out what feels good, what feels natural to you, and to live by that truth. I hope that inspires you a little bit, and maybe to second guess a paradigm many people tell themselves, I'm just not talented, I'm just not creative. This is utter BS, and I know that all this creativity is in you as well.